Let's head to Sam in Brisbane. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Dominic.
No, Dominic was our last caller. You mean Alec?
Sorry, Alex.
That's okay. Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to talk about the kind of neo-imperialist agenda that both, Trump and Putin are kind of exhibiting in the world at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time that Trump's, building a wall between America and Mexico, he's trying to claim that he's breaking down barriers all the way over in Korea and trying to claim credit for it.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think, Trump's got a more shadowy approach to the whole, claiming world peace while turning America into a nationalist state. And, as an African American myself, now living in Australia, I was brought over by my family, but it's just the amount of racism and, the anti-Semitism that Trump's been promoting in America, and Russia's got a long history of racism and anti-Semitism in their society too. It's just like... So
are you saying America might become a little bit more like Russia?
Well, yeah, I'm saying that. It's like we've flipped since the Second World War, Germany's doing so much for immigration and, they've shown, humility about the Holocaust and they've accepted all that and, they've gone along with it and said, that they've been saying sorry and they're building new Holocaust memorials all the time. And on the other hand, the states that liberated Germany from fascism, Russia and America, they're turning fascist themselves now. So
maybe everything goes in cycles. I don't know. Alec, how do you see this view? Is America becoming more like Russia?
It's got a long way to go. We're starting from a good point, at least, in that respect. I mean, it's almost like apples and oranges because, I mean, in Russia there just isn't a conversation about racism. That's just not a concern. I mean, just to kind of the first thing that Americans are typically shocked by when they arrive in Russia is that political correctness is the ultimate faux pas. So Russians hate political correctness. They see that as a shallow, deceitful trait exhibited by Americans often. They like people who speak frankly and aren't afraid to call I won't use the expression because it's no longer obviously no longer PC in the West, but and this conversation is just not even happening in Russia. It's a broader question whether America is becoming more like Russia. I think that the key thing about America that Russia doesn't have, the key thing that we should be worried about if America starts to lose, that it will become more like Russia, is just diverse centers of power. I mean, when you had Trump come to office, he had these kind of very disturbing campaign promises he's going to put into effect: the wall, the banning foreigners from coming from the eight countries on the list for sponsoring terrorism. These very racist policies that Trump was going to implement, but he hasn't actually implemented them yet. We're 2 years in, and we don't have the wall, and we don't actually have the travel ban. And I mean, and why did that happen? It's because Congress didn't want to approve the funding. It's because a court ruled against the travel ban, and now there's a long legal battle being fought out. The point being that the great thing about the U.S. is that even when you have some crazy demagogue like Trump, he can't necessarily go and implement all these things right away because there are competing centers of power. That's what you notice when you go to Russia to live and report, is that these centers of power are so weak. There's the presidential administration, what people often call the Kremlin, and that exists on such a higher plane than everybody else that no court in the land will stand up to them. The parliament is a rubber stamp parliament, and so that's what I would really be concerned about if America was going to. That's how America could truly become more like Russia, and what would be disturbing is if we lost some of those very many different institutions that compete with each other and fight each other.
And do you think some of those checks and balances are being weakened?
I think that I think the thing about Trump, and I mean, there's a great Russian phrase actually, which is that Saltykov Shchedrin, the harshness of Russian laws is mitigated by their lack of implementation. The idea being that in Russia there are a lot of laws that are on the books that nobody actually follows in practice. The thing about Trump is he says a lot of things, but it doesn't actually get put into practice. He's actually a fairly ineffective president in terms of playing the political game to an extent to pass initiatives. I mean, he's done a few things. He passed the tax cut, but so many other of his campaign promises, of his initiatives have been unfulfilled because he, even though he has a Republican Congress, it's just mind-boggling how ineffective he is in some ways. And so I think that actually has saved us from sliding further down the slope towards that kind of degradation.
Sam, thanks so much for calling.
Thanks. Just a shout out to my dad, Darren Hyde. Sam Hyde here. Love you, Dad. All right, bye.
All right, very nice of you. Thanks for that, and hello to your dad as well.